I guess I'll go first. For me, jealousy feels a lot like anxiety. I'm very afraid. Um, I also tend to get a little depressed. Um, I have kind of the fear of missing out. So um, I sit there and ponder a lot of all the awesome things that they're doing that I'm missing out on. Um, but mostly for me, it's anxiety and not feeling good enough. Anybody?
I have them, but they're rare. I don't know. Maybe it's just my mental issues for myself, but I don't really get jealous. I I can see where you're coming from about not being able to spend time with a person and not having that same amount of time to be doing the same thing. But for me, I don't know what it is.
Is there anything that you do get jealous about? It doesn't necessarily have to be with a partner. Like if a friend got a really nice car or pick your thing that you like, would you maybe be envious or jealous of the things that they had?
Oh yeah, and non like relational type things. If someone's playing a new video game that I've been saving up for forever and I don't get it, that's definitely one of those. Well, I don't get a chance to play it. Why should you get to play it?
I started dating this really cool new person and I'm not going to be that cool. So, some things that I'm reading are that a lot of people feel more envy than jealousy.
Sure, I would love to do that for you. So I think jealousy is more about feeling like someone has something that you don't have in terms of qualities, like, oh, that person's prettier than me, or oh, that person's smarter than me, and I'm jealous of, you know, them in terms of those types of things, like they're better than me in some way. Whereas envy is more about something that they have, maybe like from my experience, if my partner is going on a date with someone to do something that I want to do versus and they're doing it with someone else, then I might feel like envious of them having that experience with someone else as opposed to having it with me, and wanting to have that experience with them instead of them having it with the other person.
I can see that. For me, it's usually more envy than it is jealousy, but I have been known to have pangs of jealousy occasionally. Anybody else?
Are we still on like how do we feel when we're jealous?
No, we are on what's the difference between envy and jealousy. Jealousy is others taking what you believe is yours, which gets tricky whenever, as Sadie types, that people don't really have ownership of other people. So, how do y'all feel about that?
Yeah, if I'm going to be jealous of someone because I feel like they're taking a person away that belongs to me, that's really like, I don't know, like icky. And I think that envy makes a lot more sense to me because, yeah, there's always something that I want potentially that I don't have that someone else is getting from my partner, or um, even not even from my partner, just in general. Like, wow, that's a really, cool new thing that they got. I wish I had that thing, or whatever. And I don't think jealousy, like, I don't feel like I've ever had this idea about ownership of other people, or like that person belongs to me. um Maybe with my family, like, because I guess with my mom, if my mom was giving more attention to like a friend or other kids, because like when I was a kid, my mom was like the uh like Girl Scout leader or whatever, and I would get like jealous if she were giving the attention to the other kids. So like only in that regard, because like she's my mom, right? And in that way, like we have that connection. But I don't feel like that is the truth with other relationships that I have, which is interesting. Wow, revelations. Here we go.
I can definitely see that. That whole that's my mom thing. Even my kids kind of do that sometimes. Um, what about
Can acquire whatever it is that person has, like either through communication with my partner, like, hey, I want to do this with you also, or through my own like hard work, and I'm gonna like acquire whatever this thing is that they have that I want. So it's ultimately envy is like curable on your own, whereas jealousy I think is a little
piece of paper from the state that says they do? Um, it gets tricky whenever you have that kind of thing going on. So,
subscribed to marriage.
yeah, not for everyone. Definitely add some kinks to poly in some respects. Um, so, how do you talk to your partner about being upset or jealous or envious?
Not to be late on the topic, but we're talking about owning people. And while I don't think you can necessarily own people, you and that person certainly each own the time that you've invested together in a relationship. And I think it's that kind of stuff, that kind of specialness that you feel in a relationship that a lot of people get jealous of.
Oh, I can definitely see that. And that's probably more where the married people are coming from. But um, they maybe don't articulate it that way.
Can you elaborate a little bit more on that, Aprax? Because I don't really think I relate to that so much, and I'm curious as to like what how someone else could take away from what you've built as a couple.
Okay, fair enough. The way that I'm kind of thinking of it is that there is something that people share that's kind of the basis of the relationship, and it's very emotional. It's very tied into your self identity, how you view other people, and it's certainly something that a lot of people work very hard for, making compromises and sharing certain experiences. And shared experiences and those compromises are both things that are the bricks of a relationship. And for a lot of people, what I've heard when they feel jealous, they spend a lot of time thinking about what the other person is doing. And I'm kind of wondering if maybe what they're jealous of is that relationship's being built, and they're worried that, as that relationship is being built, theirs is eroding. So you can't necessarily own the person, but there is the sense of the relationship itself that you both have ownership in. And if they're spending a lot of their time and energy with someone else, then their time and energy with you is slowly eroding away.
I suppose I guess that doesn't seem very logical to me. I mean, I don't know. Like that just doesn't make a lot of sense to me in the respect that unless you're saying like, oh, because they're spending time with this other person or developing this other relationship, they aren't spending the time needed to develop or continue our relationship at the level that I've come to expect or something like that.
So to quote Dora Tonks, she's kind of saying the same thing, that she felt as though that her time and quality of time that she spent with her partner was becoming less.
Yeah, I can totally understand that. The only thing I would say about that is that that's not really, I feel like that's not a an issue that is with that other person. It's more about that relationship is not with your partner is an issue. Like, why are you being jealous when it's really the issue of your relationship itself? Does that make sense?
It definitely does. And I think one thing we should mention is that a lot of times both envy and jealousy are problems that while your partner can support you, they're ultimately problems that you need to fix yourself. They're problems, they're tricks that your mind is playing on you. You know what I'm saying? It's not that it's necessarily wrong, but um there's something else going on there. So how would let's go back to how would you fix those sort of feelings if your partner comes and says, I'm envious that you spend so much time with your other partner or y'all do really fun things. Here's a great example. So let's say whenever your partner goes out with another friend, they always go and do something really fun. But whenever you spend time with your partner, because you live together or you're nesting partners, you tend to spend a lot of time sitting on the couch or, you know, just doing chores or something like that.
Well, so again, that seems like more of an issue about like communication of wants and needs with your partner in your relationship than an issue really with this other person. Like, I get what you're saying, like, okay, but also if you are probably making a lot of assumptions about what's happening in that relationship with your partner and this other person, like, because you're not in that relationship, so it's hard for you to even say like, oh, I know that this is how their relationship is going. You're making that assumption that, you know, they are having a great time and all of this stuff, when it's really more about like you're unhappy with what your current situation is in your relationship, and making a point to communicate that to your partner and say like, we need to be doing these, I want to go on dates with you, or we need to, you know, make sure we have quality time versus quantity of time together too.
They open up the relationship, it highlights problems they're having. And so maybe when it's just, you know, two people that have been together for a while, they've been able to overlook those issues.
Well, and not to mention that people tend to get into ruts, just out of kind of habit. On Tuesdays, we eat tacos and we sit on the couch and watch Netflix. Whereas whenever you throw a new partner in the mix, they're obviously going to bring in new dynamic, or a new dynamic into your polycule. So therefore, Tuesday might not be taco night anymore. We may have, you know, lasagna instead. So people, in my opinion, don't like a lot of change, or some do, but you know, I think it's the change that causes more problems than anything else, from my opinion or opinion. Okay, how about we look at it from this point? What is the difference in how we handle our own jealousy versus a partner's jealousy? Or maybe what's the best way to communicate your jealousy or envy?
Well, honestly, I have yet to experience any sort of significant other or other partner jealousy, but I know that in past, I have a very open communication with my main significant other. There have been times that we have both been at each other's throat, but it's all about communication. It's open lines, and if something's bugging you, you don't hold it in at all. You kind of just get it out there.
uh, Whenever you hold stuff in, it just kind of festers and makes it worse. How do you protect your partner's feelings?
In all honesty, I sugarcoat it like 3 layers.
I, I can
You must be
understand that.
married.
How did you know?
Jokes aside, how did you phrase that question exactly, introvert?
Quite honestly, I don't remember. I asked how you go about talking to your partner about it.
I use questions. I try to find out what their experience is and see how my experience might be different. And I see what kind of needs and wants are failing or lacking, and then try to compromise.
I completely agree with the question route. I mean, I may not as go in depth, but I'm just kind of like, I throw a question there. It's like, so you've been doing this with this partner. I would like to do this sometime too, kind of thing.
I wish I was as eloquent as you two. I tend to go with the breakdown into tears mode of communication, which is not useful at all. But I do agree that questions are really great. Um, it definitely takes a different spin on it so that the person's not getting wrapped up in what's going on in their head and they can answer the questions so that they have a better understanding of what's going on in themselves, not only because a lot of times whenever we get caught up in our heads, we just spin in circles and we don't get anywhere. So what are some of the things that you think, or in your experience, does your partner like to hear whenever they say, I'm jealous or I'm envious?
Well, to backtrack just a little bit, I agree with the whole it takes a different kind of person. For me, it's a no filter kind of thing. But also, if there's an issue, you don't want your significant other or partner or anything else to feel attacked. You don't want to just come out with an aggression of, hey, you're doing this and I don't like it kind of thing.
Oh, very exactly. That's most excellent. No good comes from anybody feeling attacked.
Aggression feeds aggression.
Exactly.
If my partner came up to me or anyone else and was like, so, okay, I've noticed that you've done this and this with someone else, and I want to know why this isn't happening or why I'm not part of it, kind of thing. I might not even realize that I'm doing it with one and not the other. So for me, it's a recognition of, hey, oh, wow, I didn't realize I was doing that. I am so sorry.
So, what are some reassurances that you might give your other partner?
I'm sorry, repeat that. I was phased out for a second.
It's okay. So, what are some reassurances that you or your partner like to hear from you?
Reassurances.
Yeah.
Well, I know, uh, as we know, I'm married. Um, Whenever we talk to each other, we're 100% with each other. But if she's having a conversation with someone else, there's always a physical contact to know that they may be with the mind space of someone else, but they're still with me as well. And for us, we're really hard to kind of get out of the house, but there's always that reassurance from each other.
She has some really ugly feels going on. Is the physical reassurance usually enough to bring her out of it, or do you need so? Does she sometimes need something else?
Well, in my situation, it's usually always a massive cuddle. It helps her, but also I need to make her laugh. I need to make her not stress. I need to not make her be in her head as much. So I usually end up making a really stupid joke, doing something really stupid, sort of like a Three Stooges kind of thing. But as long as I can make her laugh or I can do something that gets her out of that exact moment, it helps her when she's in bad space.
Okay, so what about you? What if you get stuck in a really bad space? What do you do? Or what can she do?
If I'm ever in a bad space, I mean, it's rare, but it does happen. It's usually she makes me something to eat. I'm that kind of a guy.
Understandable. Um, okay, so the next question is jealousy ever good? Or envy?
In my point of view, I think a little jealousy could be somewhat good for a relationship because maybe it wouldn't keep things maybe on a straight line and irregular and routine. Because sometimes that's not good for a relationship. You need a little spontaneity, a little spice, as so people say.
I agree. Sometimes it helps you maybe jumpstart what it is or an aspect that you hadn't been thinking of lately. And then you're like, hey, I would really like to do that. That would give us something to talk about. There's something to do. Um,
Ex- exactly. My
a
point.
growth
Exactly.
opportunity, if you will.
I don't know. I generally find it does more harm than good overall. And so I tend to think that it doesn't have a lot of positive, good purpose. I think that a lot of it is culturally based and kind of taught. And I know in my experience, like, I honestly would like in previous relationships that were monogamous, like feign jealousy and like act like I was mad about something that my partner, like, oh, you flirted with that girl or whatever. Like, I didn't care, but like I felt like I was expected to care and make an issue of it when it didn't really matter to me. And that sounds really weird, but I think that like from a cultural standpoint and even like from modeling my parents, you know, to some degree, like, yeah, I definitely can see this. Like, you're supposed to feel like your partner shouldn't be doing this or, whatnot. And I don't know. I don't think that that's very healthy or productive.
I wouldn't say getting stuck in it is healthy or productive. I think maybe it would highlight some issues that you're maybe need to address. Um, I think feigning jealousy would be a really bad idea, but I have also done it in monogamous relationships myself. Um, because, as you said, it is very cultural and kind of the thing that is expected of you. Um, so trying to read and see what's going on. So what do you think about that? Do you think it maybe helps highlight some needs that aren't being met?
Maybe, but also maybe it just makes like issues out of nothing. Like, um, if I'm jealous about something you did or gave to your other partner, or I don't know, like if I'm jealous about how much time you're spending with your other partner, then I'm kind of wondering, like, what if that other person wasn't there? Would this still be an issue? Like, if I is it just about like I'm wanting what I can't have, or I'm wanting what someone else has because I don't have it, and that's making a problem, or like what I want it if the option wasn't there is what I'm like getting at. Like, okay, so did I notice before that we were only spending time together when we were cooking or doing dishes or whatever, or am I only noticing that now that like this other person is involved and you're spending time with this other person doing these other things, um And to me, that's like, I don't know, if I was perfectly content before, why should I not continue to be content with the way that things were going?
That's perfectly valid and good food for thought. I tend to get kind of stuck in a this is the way things are, and then somebody else shows up, and I'm like, oh, well, now I want to do those things where as normally I wouldn't really care, or if I did care, it wouldn't be like this needs to happen today, or I'm going to have a fit, kind of thing.
I definitely could see it if I had a routine and my routine was being disrupted. Like if I lived with a partner and we had a certain like way of doing things, and that way of doing things was now being disrupted, or my time was being changed or in some way altered that I didn't really appreciate or enjoy. But I don't have that situation, so it doesn't really apply to me. But definitely for many people who are in those kinds of relationships, then I could see that being an issue.
I have to say, the most times that I've felt envious or jealous of another partner, it's generally been tied up in my routine being disrupted. But I live with my partner, so and in general, I'm really bad with things or with change in general. So that's my own cross to bear.
Well, I don't think that you're alone in that. Like, I think most people don't enjoy change. And I think that's part of kind of like the difficulty in, adding people to your polycule, right? Because with the addition of more people comes changes and alterations to your own relationship, kind of by default. I mean, in some ways, you're going to have to alter at least the amount of time that you're spending with your partner because they have to make time for someone else. So I think most people are averse to that. It's not something that really comes naturally to us or that we want to do. And, change in general is difficult for a lot of people. So that you're not like abnormal in that, I don't think.
No, I didn't think I was particularly abnormal. But change is good for people, though.
Oh yeah, totally. I didn't mean to imply that it wasn't. But yeah, I was just saying, like, you're not weird for like thinking that or for like experiencing that, because I think most people are that way, which is why jealousy and compersion are such an issue, like in general.
Oh, I agree. Yeah, change is good. It just hurts while you're going through it. But I feel that most of the time, once you get past I shouldn't say hurts, the uncomfortable feeling of change, once you get on the other side of it, generally things are better. So, how do you feel about jealousy being a selfish emotion? I can definitely see where jealousy could be a selfish emotion, but I think that's just something people have to work through on their own.
I mean,
All right.
what's the difference between a selfish and an unselfish emotion? Can you like define that?
To me, that's kind of tied into, is there any such thing as true altruism? You can say that something's altruistic, and then someone can say, well, yeah, but you only really did it because it makes you feel better. So I think it has, I don't know, maybe intentions or something, but jealousy, I think, is kind of selfish, but I don't think every emotion is.
See, I would argue that most emotions are selfish. I mean, especially the positive emotions, and jealousy is not even a positive emotion. Like, if I'm doing things or I'm experiencing a feeling that is positive, I'm going to want to continue to feel that emotion because I'm feeling good, right? Like, so I don't know that I agree with that. But.
To play devil's advocate, there are some who would consider jealousy a type of positive relationship. That's kind of the reason there's that take on it in all our pop and country music. You know, so and so is jealous of me, they must really care.
Oh, no doubt. I don't disagree that there's a caring involved in that emotion, but also it's it's in some ways destructive, and I don't know that like, if it's destructive, how can it be selfish? How can it be beneficial to the self?
There is the old saying that the road to hell is paved with good intentions. Something being positively intended or negatively intended or destructive or constructive doesn't necessarily give it an inherent value of good or bad.
Well, so then selfishness isn't necessarily good or bad either.
So would compersion be a selfish emotion?
To quote Gordon, greed, for lack of a better term, is good.
I mean, I think before we can say whether compersion is a selfish emotion, we have to kind of delve into what is compersion and all of the things that lead up to that.
Very good point. So
Bit.
what is compersion? So some describe compersion as the opposite of jealousy, or the happiness for your partner's happiness.
And I would definitely disagree with it being the opposite of jealousy. But I think that's a poor definition. I think it's always a bad idea to define one thing by its relation to another thing, especially when that thing is something so kind of individualistic as jealousy. I mean, we all kind of just did our descriptions of what we feel like when we're jealous, and they were kind of variable. So saying like compersion is the opposite of that. Well, if your feeling of jealousy is fear and anxiety, and my feeling of jealousy is depression or anger, then our opposites are going to be pretty different.
I feel that it is difficult to define something that is nebulous, especially whenever it comes to emotions. But I think the technical, poly way of describing it or defining it is the happiness for your partner's happiness. So I can say that I have been both full of compersion and full of envy at the same time, which is kind of crazy. I love that my partner's happy, and I'm happy that they're getting their needs met. But at the same time, I'm sad that things are changing, or have that anxiety that things are changing. So, do you think people use compersion as a coping mechanism sometimes?
I mean, I don't know in what way. I have a hard time with the question, because I don't really feel like I experience a lot of compersion, or like that it's really a relevant emotion to me or experience. I don't know.
I feel you there. I can say the times that I felt compersion are few and far between. And generally it was because the I knew that my partner's partner was really amazing. I had really good feelings for my meta, and I thought that they were a great person. And so it really caused me no issue to, you know, I was genuinely happy for them. There are times that I've been happy that my partner's happy and excited for them at the same time as not being happy because things were changing or I didn't particularly like that meta. Um, so, um, does that clear it up some?
Yeah.
Aguilar wants to find it, I think, very well as being joyful from your partner's joy.
So I just read something that said that, if I'm reading it correctly, and um, maybe Lewis, can clear it up for me, but it says that it can only really be bad if they're forcing it, or as a counterpoint that I'll let them have X because I'm better so that I'll get Y later. So basically kind of a tit for tat kind of thing. Hey, good luck.
No, no compersion here. Sorry.
Never, never once.
I mean, I think that I feel like happy when other people are happy, but I don't necessarily feel like happy for them or happy, like, I don't know, about their happiness. Like, yeah, okay, so they're happy. That's great. Like, I don't know. It's very, any super strong emotion about it.
You don't share it. And
I
maybe
mean, I
it's
do if I'm involved in it, but if I'm not involved in it, it's hard to, like, relate so much, I guess.
I can see that. I guess for me, it's fun for me to feel compersion because my partner comes back happier, and so I'm more happy that they're happy because because I know they're in a good mood and in a good place, and it will make our lives better because they're in a good place.
See, so something you said kind of made me think about it. Like, basically, like, I don't live with my partner, so if he's getting like, if he's really happy about a date or excited, like, he's not there. Like, I'm not there to like see that or experience that, or like on a daily basis, it doesn't impact my life so much. So I'm not really, you know, if he calls me right after a date or something, then I might be like, oh, that's nice that you had a nice date. But like, I'm not there to like face to face experience that emotion from him, I guess.
That's fair enough. I know with the meta that I was really good friends with, even though most of their dates weren't at our house or anything, and her and I really had pretty.
I do know that sometimes my partner's compersion isn't exactly compersion. They're not necessarily happy that I'm happy. They're happy they get a night alone in the house and can just sit on the couch and not worry about me.
I can definitely um, understand that. Um, but I think sometimes it goes deeper than that. It's not just so much that that person is happy with sitting on the couch. It's especially if you're an introvert like I am and dating somebody or, involved with somebody that's an extreme extrovert, it takes a lot of the weight off of my shoulders so that I'm very happy that they're out getting their needs met, but I don't necessarily have to go and brave the crowded bar or whatever to, help them fulfill that need.
Do you think compersion is ever really taught in our society or culture?
Well, I kind of liken it to like, people say it's the opposite of jealousy, but I think it's closer maybe to the opposite of compassion in the sense that it's, to be compassionate is to like really care and feel like sort of um pity and um, like strong feelings for someone's loss or someone's struggle. And this is kind of the opposite of that, in the sense that we get to feel happy or, you know, whatever about the person's like happiness. So I don't think that it's necessarily taught, but I don't think it's necessarily like that far out of the realm of understanding per se.
I agree with you. I think we're a very individualistic culture and society. And I think that kind of shows itself in our social politics, our politics. In some countries, they very much recognize that what's good for all of us is also good for me. And they have a kind of more collectivist point of view to it. Individuals, compersion's a little bit harder for us.
I would agree with that.
I don't know if you've ever played on a team, like in a sport, when you know your teammate scores a goal, or you know gets a home run or something like that. Like I feel like everyone as a group benefits and everyone as a group is happy. We're not jealous that they got the home run. Like we're happy that we won the game and that they contributed to that.
I think it's interesting that you point that out. My brother was in Little League, and I very much saw a lot of jealousy in amongst the team. Like they were very jealous that they didn't score a run or whatever. So, you know, I agree with your idea that yes, that is the ideal, that we would be very happy and excited that we were all winning, but I don't necessarily think that holds true to what society or what individuals will always do.
So I think that comes down to like um, perceptions of teamwork and perceptions of like oh, what the hell is the word I'm looking for? Sportsmanship. And ultimately, like it has to be taught by a coach or an adult, you know, a model. And potentially if there's a competitiveness there, like amongst teammates, that can be serve a purpose, but I don't necessarily think that it's the way that most successful teams operate. So
And I agree with that also, especially if you feel any at the end
to feel compersive rather than just a blank spot or just blanket acceptance, I guess.
without having to feel all giddy and happy about it.
I think part of the assumption that we make when we say like is compersion required is that like if it's not there, then like something is amiss or that you have negative feelings. Like just because I'm not feeling compersion doesn't mean I'm feeling like negative about the situation or that I don't like or enjoy what my partner is experiencing. It just means I don't really either I don't care, I'm apathetic, I don't have really a feeling about it one way or another. Like I don't think that it necessarily presumes like I'm upset about it in some way.
I definitely prefer feeling apathetic to the whole situation than feeling negative about a meta. Um, if I'm feeling apathetic, that means that I don't have any anxiety about it and I don't have any jealousy or, any of those things. So, of the three ways that I could go, I would definitely say compersion is the best, apathy is second, and third is I hate your face and I don't want to see you again.
Well, right, but I just think that like just because I don't feel compersion doesn't mean like I have to have one of these other like emotions that's negative. Like saying like is it required? Well, if it's required and I don't feel it, then I think the assumption is I feel something negative about the my partner's feelings, which isn't the case. I just may not care or I may not have like the bandwidth in my emotional like realm to contemplate my partner's feelings. I mean, that's like a really big I don't know. I feel like that takes a lot of energy, and not everyone may have that. So,
I don't have to think about it. It just is, and it can go on doing what it's doing because I don't have any bad feelings about it. And maybe in the future, I'll have good feelings about it.
right. I don't think anyone says like, no, you can only feel this way and this way alone, and you can't ever change your feelings, and you must always have compersion, or else no. Or if you have compersion and then you don't have compersion, something must be wrong with you, or whatever. Like I think that that's a definite. But there's definitely a kind of a spectrum and a flow of emotional feeling and change.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that.
Not to cut anyone off, but in the text discussion, Louis I think what they're saying is that compersion has a gradient in it that ranges from acceptance to comfort to happiness. And I thought that was really interesting in that there's kind of a breakdown of it.
I could definitely see that. There have been times that I merely accepted a partner. There have been times that, I was really happy. And it does come in phases. It doesn't just pop up overnight for me anyway. Sadie, how does does your partner feel compersion? Has he have they told you that, or you know, anything like
No. um so my primary, I say primary, but he's not really primary, he's just, you know, my main partner, my main squeeze. He does
Baby daddy.
not, yeah, not whatever. If I had any babies, have daddy. Yeah, he's my doggy daddy. So no, actually, I don't think he feels a lot of compersion. I think that likely he's more concerned generally about I don't know, my partners, my other partners, like he doesn't generally like them, so he's not he's not really feeling compersion about it.
So does he not like them on a philosophical level, or does he not like them because he doesn't like the type of people they are, or has nothing in common with them, or
Well, it depends on the person, but yeah, it's generally a combination of those things. Like, usually just not thinking that they um, are good enough or treating me well enough or whatever the case is. Like, I think he's protective in a sense, and um, he has to be the one that deals with the fallout of any like poor relationship choices that I make in general, and that causes him to kind of be wary, I think, of any like new relationships, to the point where he's, like I said, if you have a certain feeling, like you're like, oh, I'm anxious about how this is going to go, that might override any like compersion he might feel.
I can definitely understand that. I feel that maybe my partner feels that way too. Like he wants to be happy for me, but at the same time, he's like, "Oh, what is the thought going to be whenever this person turns out not to be what she wants them to be?" So
have impacted him negatively too, and so it's more, I think, of a like, I don't want to get too excited about this because it might end up like negatively impacting me as well, and so it's just a kind of a caution, I think, more than anything else.
no, my partner has almost said those exact words to me at times. So I definitely get it. Um,
I wonder what this has to do with introverts.
I think there's a lot of things we talk about in the poly or non-monogamous world that is kind of intro, extro differentiated. But I think compersion and jealousy are, I think they're both there for both sides. I'm an extreme extrovert, and I might express how I deal with jealousy differently, but I think it hits me the same way it does a lot of introverts.
Well, I just meant in terms of, because I don't know if you caught what we were talking about Aprex, but introvert Vigirl and I both have similar experiences with our partners and their compersion aspects in our to our relationships, and I just kind of wonder if that is a symptom of us being introverts, and how we relate to other people, and that may or may not be, you know, have the best outcomes at times.
maybe it affects our partners differently than if we were extroverts. Because as an extrovert, you are more likely to go out and look for other people to comfort you, whereas introverts kind of withdraw and look for the people that they are most most close to comfort them.
Bingo.
As I've heard some extroverts say, they just go to the bar and talk about their problems at the bar. I would never do that. It would never happen. I would call a really close girlfriend, or I would want my partner. Generally, I would want my partner so that I felt loved and validated again. Um, After a
To roughly
breakup.
paraphrase Jeopardy, what's the question? Like,
So
I think I missed something.
the question is do you think that extroverts and introverts are
Excuse me.
rely on their partners differently when experiencing jealousy or compersion or these kinds of negative emotions, whereas like I've heard an extrovert say that they would just go to the bar and work out their problems there. Myself and Sadie would never do that. We would want our partners, or we would want a best friend. We rely heavier on the people that are closest to us.
All right, now this is making more sense as a question. Okay, that's the part I was missing. Not how does an introvert or extrovert feel those things differently, but how do they approach them differently or hope that their partners will respond differently, right?
Exactly.
I know that for jealousy, my natural first take is to go to a bunch of strangers or things like that. But when it comes down to actually solving the problem, it's got to be that partner.
So if you're experiencing jealousy or compersion, on that partner.
Well, yeah, I think. Oh, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I was just gonna say, as I think I mentioned a little while ago, like if my partner is not is doing something that is causing me jealousy or envy, then I will tend to go about figuring that how to meet that need myself, or find someone else somewhere else to meet that need. So it's more about me not feeling like I can really I don't want to take away from their experience. And so I generally will find it on my own, I guess, which, being solo, that's kind of just how I operate.
And I can understand that. I know that cry I will tend to withdraw, especially if I'm feeling jealous or envious. I tend to withdraw. Um, and yet be needy at the same time. I'm full of uh, contradictions. I both want all of my partner's attention and to be made to feel special, but at the same time I'm going to be very standoffish and kind of want space.
No, I gotta say for me, I just, as usual, want people's attention, I guess.
Well, I'll tend to call my partner out on it. Jealous is he will start to kind of badmouth my other partners, like not bad on them in like obvious ways, but like makes little snide comments or remarks or whatnot. And so I'm like, why are you doing that? You know, I get this feeling like there's some jealousy there, and he doesn't really want to talk about it. So, but I'll just be like, look, you know, this isn't okay. And and really I can't process that jealousy for him, so I'm kind of left at a with a like, you know, just the only thing that I can do is to say, like, I recognize that you have negativity towards this person or whatever, but I would appreciate it if you didn't express that to me.
If you can't say something nice,
Yeah, I'm working on that.
well, I meant your partner, but I guess you too.
Exactly.
Well, for me, I try to remind myself in the moment until we can get to a place where we can talk. I'll remind myself that they are happy, they are doing what they want, they are a whole and complete individual, and their wants and needs don't always reconcile with mine. And if they're happy, then that's what is best. And, you know, just take it from there until we can talk. Um, as far as dealing with my partner's jealousy, I try to just kind of, kind of work it around, asking them why they're jealous or what's going on in their head. Um, my partner, even though he's extroverted, I can always tell if he's got something going on in his head that's not awesome because he'll get really quiet. It's one of the few times that he ever does get quiet. And so that's whenever I know that I need to kind of do one of two things. Like, I need to ask him what's wrong, and if he's not willing to talk about it, I need to let him sit on it until he can talk about it in a rational way. Sometimes the sitting on it until he could talk about it is painful, but it's what we have to do until we can move on.
I have to get my hands busy. If I feel jealous in the moment, then I find myself kind of stuck in a train of thought, and I have to get busy and find something else to focus on.
Okay, so we're going to open it up to a free topic. Any questions, suggestions, thoughts, concerns, or advice you'd like? Okay, well, this was a great discussion. Thank you, those of you that joined in on the voice channel and those of you that joined in on the text only. We really appreciate it, and y'all had some great things to say. Um, in a few minutes, the channel will close, and we will post this all on YouTube and various other places for you to read or listen to later. Thank you so much, and have a great night.